I think sexual health is very pertinent at the moment. It's a very important subject. And people's access to contraceptives, particularly young people's access, is vital on the Isle of Man, particularly because I think young people often have difficulties accessing service because they're not quite sure who they're going to bump into, they're not sure about the confidentiality. I personally think that we need to address these problems in a pragmatic way, particularly providing young men with condoms when they're at sixth form and sixth form and the Isle of Man College. But also looking in terms of emergency contraception and making sure that women know that it is available from pharmacists, that you don't have to wait to see your GP, and that you can, although it used to be called the morning after pill, actually it can be used for longer periods than that. So if women are concerned about an unintended pregnancy, they can get help from pharmacies. What I'm trying to do with this question is find out how many women know about that and have accessed the service. And if they don't, if the uptake has been low, let's publicise it. Let's get the message out there that these services are available for people to use.
With regard to the condoms, do you think there's still maybe a level of embarrassment for younger men and teenagers when it comes to, because some people say, oh, well, they can just go to the shops and buy them.
Yeah, but we live on a relatively small island, and whilst you're in a pharmacy that may be in a supermarket, you're going to bump into all your neighbours there, and perhaps your aunt or some, perhaps even your mother. So I think there is the problem with confidentiality on the island. And what I'd like to see is us taking a pragmatic view and saying, if young men need access to condoms, let's make them accessible. Let's make sure that they can get quality contraceptive. They get the advice at school, but then they need to actually go out and buy the things. So let's make sure that we're providing them in a suitable place where people can actually get them.
If memory serves me correctly, this issue was raised, I think it's maybe about 12 years ago now, around 2006. There was talk amongst some MHKs, I think it might even have been Peter Carron who suggested it, of putting condom vending machines in schools. And I believe it was sort of poo-pooed at the time by the Education Minister, as was Mr. Anderson, I think it was, for the reason of that it might encourage young people to be having sex.
Yeah, I mean, this argument's been bandied about for ages, that if you provide women with the pill, that you're going to encourage sex. The same argument was used for emergency contraception, that you were going to encourage sex. It's nonsense. If we're going to have a decent, progressive sexual health policy, we need to give people access to the right information, the right advice, but also the right contraceptives. And if we're going to say to young men that they need to protect women against and themselves against sexually transmitted diseases, if they're going to take part in family planning and prevent unwanted pregnancies, we need to make condoms available to them. So this idea that because you give advice, or if you give contraceptives, you encourage sex, is absolute nonsense.
Because they're probably going to do it anyway, so you might as well make it as safe as possible.
Thankfully for our population, people have sex. People enjoy having sex. What we need to do is make sure that sex is safe, make sure that they have the right choices in terms of contraception. But we need to be honest about this, that by restricting access to contraception, you don't stop people having sex. It's just unsafe sex with unsafe consequences.
Have you also in part raised this at the moment because of the ongoing debate about abortion in the Isle of Man? Do you think it was timely?
They are connected. If we're going to, as a nation, strive for decent reproductive health care, if we're going to deal with difficult subjects like abortion, we also need to deal with the root cause, which may be lack of contraceptive advice, may be not enough men being able to get condoms. If we're going to look at reducing the rates of sexually transmitted diseases on the island, we need more advice. We need men who routinely break down the stigma. Yes, if you're going to go out and you intend to have sex, you take a condom with you.